Okay, we're back to chapter 17. Then came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 bowls, and talked with me, saying, Come, I will show you the condemnation of the great harlot who sits upon many waters. I'm going to tell you already at the beginning of this chapter, it's all about the Vatican and the Catholic Church. She is the harlot who sits upon many waters, meaning many, many nations all over the world, with whom the kings of the earth have committed adultery. And the inhabitants of the earth have been drunk with the wine of her adultery. In other words, her spiritual adultery, her meddling her religion in with politics, religion and politics together. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet wild beast, inscribed with many words of blasphemy, and having 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay. The woman is the church, the Catholic Church, the Vatican, sitting on a scarlet, a red, bloody beast, which would be Satan. He's created lots of wars, and Christians have died, and people have died through bloody wars ever since he's been here. Inscribed with many words of blasphemy, and he's very blasphemous, and causes even blasphemous words to come out of, if you haven't noticed lately, Pope Francis. And having 7 heads and 10 horns. The 7 heads being the 7 hills of the Vatican, the 10 horns being the trumpets. Remember, horns are trumpets. The 10 voices of those nations who support the Vatican. Sorry to say, America, United States of America, is one of them. We are just one horn, though. We're one of those horns. And the other 9 are other countries. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet. And what are the colors that the Catholic Church chooses to wear most? Are red and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, and their jewels and their cups, and everything of the finest that money can buy. And she had a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her adultery on earth. Now, remember a while back I told you that Pope Francis came to America, and America made him, cast him. I even have a video on this whole thing. Cast him a cup of gold inlaid with silver, and people around the United States sent their jewels, sent their extra gold, their extra silver, their stones and different things, so that this cup could be made. Now, what does that remind you of? Does it remind you of Aaron and the golden calf, where everyone took off their earrings and their jewels, and they gave them to the priest Aaron to cast a golden calf, so they'd have something to worship, because they couldn't see God, and they wanted something physical that they could see to worship. So this is what they've done. And they even, the Lord, isn't the Lord wonderful? Look at here. He's even told us she had a golden cup in her hand, and out of America walked the Pope Francis with the golden cup in his hand, after he came to America to commit spiritual adultery here with our government. And upon her forehead was a name written that not all could understand. Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Have you ever noticed? Does your Bible do this? Apparently, it was supposed to be in caps. Just want you to see. The Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. It calls her the mother because she breeds other whore churches, prostitute churches. But I just found it interesting that there's a Mother Mary over her. And I saw that the woman was drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great amazement. And the angel said to me, "Why do you wonder? I will tell you the mystery. I'm going to tell you the mystery of the woman and of the wild beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The wild beast that you saw was and is not, and is ready to come up from the bottomless pit and go to be destroyed." Now, so the wild beast has to be Satan in the pit. So he's going to come up. He's already done that. And those who dwell on the earth, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, shall wonder when they behold the beast that was and is not, and now whose end has come. Okay, whose name were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. Now remember, I told you, there's a book, and all our names are written in it when we come to earth, and God gives our spirit a chance to decide what you want to do. So there's a book there that says if you don't come, then your name is blotted out of that book. But this is a different book. Now listen, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world shall wonder when they behold the beast that was and is not. Here, their name wasn't even written in the book. They were of a different seed line, you see, because God's book comes from his seed line. This book, they were never written in the book of life. So they are from Satan's seed line. Here is understanding for him who has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills the woman sits on. There it is. The 7 heads are 7 hills. And there are 7 kings. Oh, there are 7 kings, of whom 5 have fallen, and 1 is, and the other is yet to come. And when he comes, he shall continue only for a short time. And the wild beast that was and no longer is, even he is the 8th, and is one of these 7. Okay, here we go. Verse 11. And the wild beast that was, I want you to underline wild beast that was, and over it I want you to write Satan. He was the wild beast that was and no longer is. He no longer is because he's in somebody else. Even he is the 8th and is one of the 7 destined to be destroyed. Now, in 1929, the Vatican became a country. It became a city-state. It became a political power in 1929. And it has voting rights at the UN, and it can send ambassadors to the UN, even though it's a little tiny place, even smaller than Israel, okay? But it has a huge amount of voting power. So since 1929, when the Vatican became a city-state, a nation, it has had up through Pope Benedict was 7. Pope Benedict was the 7th. Okay. Now this says, and one of the 7 destined to be destroyed. Those 7 will be destroyed, but 1 is going to remain. And I don't know if there's another place I'm going to explain that, or I can't remember. Um, but there's 7 up to Benedict. That would make Pope Francis the 8th. But there's only 7 going to be destroyed. So one of them remain. Now, which one would that be? I believe Benedict is a anti-pope, or not the real pope, because Benedict was the real pope. He's still alive. I believe that so much heat was getting placed on the union between the Pope and George Gainswine, that they had to bring in an anti-pope to damage control, to help bring things about that weren't from them. Once he's done what he's supposed to do, he will either resign or he will be killed. He will be assassinated. I believe he's going to be assassinated. However, then the Pope Benedict will still be alive, because Satan's going to keep him alive as long as he needs him. Once Pope Benedict puts George Gainswine in power, he will die. Then 7 will be dead, but the one world government leader will be left. Now, and the 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have received no kingdom yet, but received authority as kings for 1 hour with the beast. Now, the 10 horns are 10 kings. If they receive power with 1 hour with the beast. Now, remember I told you 1,000 years with the Lord is as a day with us. And if that's 1 hour, that would be 60 years. So these 10 kings who have been ruling with the Vatican, with the popes, that would be Pope John, Paul, and Benedict, and Francis. He's been reigning through all those popes, and in 1 hour. So in other words, 1 hour would be 60 years. Of the last 60 years, they have been bringing this one world government together. They want to bring it to fruition, just like the Tower of Babel. They're not going to get it. They're not. They will have it 1 year. I believe that you're going to see they're going to only be, if that much, 1 year. That's my theory. These are of one accord, and they shall give their strength and authority to the beast. Now, they've already done that. This is not something future. We've already been living in the time while they're doing that. They've been giving their power to the beast. Like I said, in 2014 into 2014, or the early 2015, I can't remember when it was now. Our country, even Ken Copeland, Rick Warren, and many of our Pentecostal and other ministers from America went over and kissed his ring and bowed down to Pope Benedict. He had an audience, and at that time they were giving their obeisance to the Catholic Church. There's no difference in the worship, where your heart is, So we've already reached these places. They will make war with the Lamb. Now, we're seeing, we've backed up now, and we're seeing how it came into being. How chapter 17 is talking about the 7 angels that are talking in heaven about the condemnation they're going to give to the Catholic Church and to this world for fornication with her. And so now the 10 kings, which you saw are 10 kings who have received no kingdom as yet, but receive authority as kings for 1 hour with the beast. Now, right now, they've divided the world up into 10 divisions. And those 10 divisions, when this is like a double prophecy, this is happening throughout the ages of 60 years, 1 hour. And at the time that we're gone, it's going to be a period of time, 1 hour, meaning I believe 1 year, that that they will reign from the time we leave, and all the hell breaks loose, and people are murdered, and it's going to be a bloodbath, a real bloodbath. Because here's what happens. They will make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb will conquer them. For he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and those who are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And that shows that the Lord is going to be the winner in the end, and us. Then he said to me, the waters which you saw where the harlot sits are peoples and multitudes and nations and of tongues. So these waters, the waters here in this case, are Christian people, because we're the water of, we believe the water of the word of God, and the waters that the harlot sits on are us. Okay, we are under the control of this world. Until the Lord lifts us up off this world, we're still under their control. Then he said to me, verse 16, and the 10 horns and the wild beast which you saw shall hate the harlot. The 10 horns and the wild beast. So even though the devil and the nations have been using that church and the popes and all, once the popes are dead, once Francis is out of the way and Benedict is out of the way, then George Gainswine, who is Satan, he will identify himself. And they will turn on the Catholic Church with a passion. The 10 nations and the wild beast which you saw shall hate the harlot, the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. In other words, the whole world will turn on the Vatican and those so-called Christians with her, because we won't be here. Remember, we're the other ones. We're going. But God has put into their hearts to do his will and to be of one accord and to give their kingdom to the wild beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman whom you saw in that great city, which has dominion over the kings of the earth. We'll be back.